Some significant new developments tonight in the Huawei story. CBC News has learned that the U.S. Intelligence Committee that investigated the Chinese telecommunications giant turned over evidence of possible bribery and corruption today to the FBI. The same committee has warned the U.S. government that Huawei is a national security risk. As we've reported, Huawei is already building wireless networks for companies you may use yourself: Bell, TELUS, and SaskTel. Greg Weston is on this story for us again tonight. Greg.
Peter, the dire warnings from the U.S. Congressional Committee not to let Huawei anywhere near the phone lines here seems to have fallen on deaf ears this side of the border.
You got to be smart to get into this program, right?
Ontario Premier Dalton McGuinty, for one, seems unfazed by all the fuss over Huawei.
Yeah, I don't really understand the concerns being raised south of the border and, of course, here in Ontario.
In fact, the Premier takes personal credit for wooing Huawei to Toronto and Ottawa in 2008 with $6.5 million from his own government.
I met with Huawei representatives in China. We secured an expansion of an existing investment in Ontario. That's created, I think, a few hundred jobs. Those jobs are very important to us.
McGuinty says when it comes to issues of Canada's national security, he will take the advice of Ottawa, not Washington. It's the same story in Saskatchewan. Premier Brad Wall went all the way to China to witness the signing of a deal for Huawei to provide network equipment for SaskTel.
We're very comfortable in this particular arrangement.
The head of provincially owned SaskTel says the partnership with Huawei has so far worked just fine.
We've had a great working relationship with Huawei in our last two network builds.
Ron Stiles gives no hint of any security problems with Huawei, but sources tell CBC News that Canada's spy agency has been keeping an eye on the SaskTel-Huawei partnership.
Have you talked to CSIS about Huawei?
The subject makes Stiles uncomfortable.
We talk to a variety of federal agencies from time to time.
Why won't you say if you talked to CSIS about Huawei?
We talk to a variety of federal agencies from time to time.
The U.S. and Australia have both banned Huawei from major infrastructure projects. The head of the U.S. Intelligence Committee says if Canada can't undo the deals that Huawei already has, it should at least try to minimize the security threat.
I feel very close to the Canadians. We have a lot more in common than we have apart, and our systems are very integrated. And I argue, I would hope that they'd look back at some mitigation.
But a former top CSIS official says there is no way to police Huawei's networks once installed.
There are just too many lines of code. There's just too much information and data available to be able to give any company like Huawei a clean bill of health and say, we've verified their systems and it's fine, they can be part of our network.
Peter, the strongest reaction to the U.S. report on Huawei comes from Beijing. The Chinese government warns the allegations could damage U.S.-China relations.
Greg Weston in Ottawa tonight. Thanks, Greg.